The purpose of it is just you're at that point where you're considering law school and thinking about the application process, but you're still a little far away from it. However, I'm sure everyone who's on here wants to know, what can I start doing now? What services are available through the Pre-Law Advising Center? And how do I set up my timeline so that I'll know that I'm doing everything I need to do to have an excellent law school application when the time comes. So today I want to be very heavily interactive, and I have the chat open up here. Ashley has it open up on her phone. And so if you have a question as I'm talking, please be sure in the chat, or you can even say, I have a question, and then I'll prompt you to unmute yourself and ask it. So the main thing today, I have, some basic slides that's just kind of a pre-law overview, but anytime you have a question, please feel free to ask. And then of course, when I've gone through the slides, if you start thinking of questions at that point in time, then let's do it. Okay, so Ashley, you can click to the this is just our mission to help students make informed decisions about their academic and personal preparation for law school and a legal career. So what that means is that we're here to help you figure out if law is right for you. We are here to talk to you about how you can get personally prepared for law school, meaning study habits, classes to take, potential work or internships, and all of the things that are outside of your classroom work. And first and foremost, it means that we are here to help you not just make the decision about whether law school is right for you, but also to be involved in helping you decide if law school is wrong for you as well. So our first slide here lists some of the things we do at the Pre-Law Advising Center in this early part of the process. And that first thing is determining if law school is a good choice. One of the first questions that I will be asking each one of you as we have a one-on-one meeting is, I'm going to ask you to tell me why it is that you're interested in the law and becoming a lawyer, and what it is that you envision that you're going to be doing as a lawyer. Your answer to that question right now might not be very nuanced or even very well articulated, and that's okay. Because you're going to get asked this question over and over again, especially as you get to the application process. So it's good to start now doing the self-reflection, where you really are asking yourself, so why is it that I want to be a lawyer? And I can tell you some of the reasons that are not good. Because your parents say you like to argue a lot and they say you should be a lawyer because of that, is really not the kind of reason that we're talking about. Ultimately, there should be something about the rule of law, the legal profession, that's intriguing to you and interests you. And then as you go through your undergraduate career and you take some classes and you start to see some of our sessions where we bring in lawyers who talk about their journey and what they do, I want you to have the moment where you say, that's something I can see myself doing. So we get from this kind of vague idea of why you want to be a lawyer to a real introspective, personal reason why you can see yourself doing this. So one of the things too that I will always be there to do for you is to recommend classes that will be helpful to you. Law schools don't really care that much about majors. They care more about GPAs. So we have students of all different majors who ultimately matriculate to law school. I'll tell you what it is from our last batch. We have about 35% of students who are from EPS. economics, political science, policy. That used to be 50%. And then it used to be 65% before that. So you can see what's happened at UTD. We have really broadened who decides to go to law school from all of the different areas. The next group up is JSOM. We have about 20 to 25% of our students who are business, finance, accounting majors from JSOM. And one of the great things about our JSOM majors is because of the rigor of that particular degree with the internship requirements and the various business competitions, folks come out of JSOM with really good resumes. Then the rest of our students are all over the place. We have history majors, philosophy majors, we have people from ATech. We have now a number of people who are engineering or computer science or math majors. And of course, we have what I call expatriates from pre-med, students who come in with that idea of going to medical school and figure out that it really is not what they want. So for everybody, I recommend at some point in time that you take business law. The great thing at JSOM is they teach so many sections of it every semester that it has its own prefix. It's BLAW. All of the professors who teach it are former attorneys or former attorneys. They're all excellent. And so you'll get a good background. Business law is foundational for all of the courses that you have to take your first year of law school, no matter where you go to law school. So from UNT Dallas to Harvard, it's contracts, torts, real property, legal research and writing, civil procedure, and then on to criminal law, constitutional law in your second semester. And so those things that you learn basically about contracts and torts and real property in the JSOM in business law are really excellent things to know for your first year. And I will tell you all that it's the class that I took as an undergraduate that made me think that the law was right for me. And then later on, when I took these next two classes, I was really sure. And that's constitutional law and civil procedure, and civil liberties. So if you're not an EPS major, try to keep a space for an elective that you can take down the road and constitutional law and civil liberties are really two halves of the same whole. The reason they are so important is, first of all, you're learning about the Constitution, and that is the framework of the entire United States legal system. Second thing is that the professors in EPS, both of them former attorneys, teach it case law methods. So you're reading and briefing cases, and that's what law school is going to be all about. So it's also going to give you an idea if you are really interested in it and enjoy it, even though it's very hard, then you know that you're on the right path for law school. So the next thing is making sure that your timeline is right for when you want to start thinking about the LSAT. Law schools will tell you that they have a very holistic approach, that they're going to look at everything in your application and try to make a determination based on who you are and your experiences, your resume, your personal statement. But the reality of it is that they put all those soft kind of variables in your file, and on the front of your file, it's your LSAT score and your GPA. And so you want to make sure that those numbers are as good as they can be so that they will go to those other parts of your file to compare you to the people who have the same kinds of numbers you do more positively. So before I even say anything about the LSAT, I want to answer one big first and foremost question. If you say to me, what is it that I can do in my first years at UTD that is going to assist me in getting to law school? And the answer is make good grades. You want to be sure that by the time you're putting your application in, that you have an excellent GPA. And so it's typical to have something of an adjustment when you're a freshman. I think the main thing is that it's very tempting to start doing a lot of things on campus, getting involved in a lot of organizations. You'd like to take interesting classes that might be upper level classes that you might not quite be ready for yet. I've had students who got all interested in constitutional law and somehow got in to take it as freshmen, and they made a B, and that's really great. But boy, if you take it later on, maybe you'll get an A+ in it, and that will be more impressive. So make good grades, make good grades, make good grades. I'm speaking to you as someone who, on my law school application, I had terrible grades from when I was a freshman, and it dogged me for my entire college career. And I had to make a really outstanding score on the LSAT to cushion the fact that I had not done well at first. Don't be me. Get good grades now, keep a good GPA, and then also make a great score on the LSAT. So typical timeline is that you're going to start preparing for the LSAT, generally speaking. I want to answer this quick question that Samantha has. Should we wait to take constitutional law and civil liberties? I'm going to say, don't do it your freshman year. I like this comment here. 20th century continental philosophy with Professor Bombach is not for the faint of heart. Now that sounds like a tough class. I think it's okay to take constitutional law and civil liberties, either one or both of those, in your sophomore year, because you've gotten that first year under your belt. And so you've kind of got your footing about what life at the big university is like. The other important thing about constitutional law and civil liberties is those are prerequisites. You need to have one of those if you're interested in being on the moot court team. And so for those of you who aspirationally want to get into moot court sooner rather than later, then you probably would want to consider doing that in your sophomore year. Certainly, though, in your junior year is a good time to take either one of those, con law or civil liberties. And of course, you're going to hear this many, many times when I tell you my lawyer answer, which is, it depends. So when it comes time to register for classes, which is coming up in October, which is tomorrow, feel free to make an appointment with me to talk about. I'm not an academic advisor, so I'm not going to tell you what you need to take for your major, but I can certainly guide you about when to try to squeeze in some of these different, what would be different law-related classes that will, that you'll have to squeeze into your schedule somewhere. Okay, so seriously thinking about the LSAT should start in the spring semester of your junior year, generally speaking. I have had people decide to take the LSAT during the summer of their junior year, and typically that's kind of a one-on-one experience. If you have something that you're doing during a particular summer, if you're going to be studying abroad, if you have something you're doing during the semester, like going on the Archer program, then that's an individual consideration. Generally speaking, though, you start preparing for the test in the spring semester of your junior year. You take it during the summer after your junior year, hopefully during July, and having a cushion so that if you aren't happy with your score, or if you feel like you're not quite ready yet, that you can take it at the end of August. but it gives you then the time to get applications in during the fall of your senior year, during the early application part of the process. So that's your kind of your basic about LSAT. So I think that before I answer Ethan's question, which is kind of on my last bullet about what kind of things that you can do in the spring, I want to address what Samantha said. Can we take the LSAT multiple times without penalty? And the answer, well, I'm going to give you my lawyer answer again. It depends. The answer is yes, that you can take the LSAT. I think the law schools don't want to see more than 3 times. I think 3 is the max. I think 2 is generally what you're going to see. I'll tell you this, it's a test you really don't want to take more than once. So I recommend being as prepared as you possibly can when you take it the first time. It definitely is not a test that you ever take cold or without preparation, because the law schools, even if you do take it more than once, they see all of your scores. And so you want to make sure you're prepared. However, a couple of points can mean a great deal with the LSAT. So for example, I had a student who had a 158 and was admitted to SMU, but didn't get any scholarship money. And so after that, in January, after his admission, he took it again and made a 162. Those 4 points made the difference between him getting no money and getting a half scholarship. And that's, we're talking, $60,000. So just 4 points can make that kind of difference. And so when you take the LSAT the first time, we'll have a conversation. You'll say to me, I think I want to take it again. And I'll ask you, where is it you're trying to get in? What do you think you're going to do differently this time? And, help you decide, okay, a second time is good. I got a lot of people right now who are taking it for the second time or just half. And that's just the COVID thing. Because of all of this, where we've gone to the LSAT Flex, the test is on your home computer. It's been a little wonky. I'm hoping by the time that you all are taking the LSAT, that a lot of that is going to be worked out. So then Ethan's question was about exposure. If you wanted some exposure to law type things this year, especially if we can't do live internships and so forth in the spring, what kind of things do I recommend that you all do in the freshman part, the spring part of your freshman year? First and foremost, as Ashley and I were talking about later, we have a lot of online webinar events planned for both semesters. Especially in the spring, we are going to have more sessions where we're going to bring in lawyers who will be talking about their particular areas of law and what their journey has been. And so I certainly would take advantage of everything that we have to offer there. Joining the John Marshall Pre-Law Society is another good thing, because I know that the board for JMPLS is very actively putting together sessions with our alumni for next semester. Our goal right now is to make sure that you all have an exposure to lawyers in a number of different areas of practice. And so this will kind of fill that part of not being able to intern or shadow, but having a situation like this where you can, talk to lawyers, ask them questions. And so I think that, I have never, things have changed so much about LinkedIn. I used to think of LinkedIn as a platform that had absolutely no use to me because I wasn't looking for a job. What I have found, though, is different communities are developing on LinkedIn. And my friend, our alumni, that Angie Vishayanan, who is the CEO of Leg Up Legal, and she taught me about how to find these different groups. Go onto LinkedIn and get into some of the pre-law groups there. I have learned that there are pre-law students who are putting together internships online so that you can get an exposure to even more lawyers and what type of work they're doing through that aspect of the internet. Finally, I would say I will be, keeping open to any kind of opportunities that we might have, especially for you guys, for the ones who are really in the process right now of thinking about law school and trying to figure out if it's right for you, to make sure that we continue to have lots of programming for you all. Is it a bad idea if you don't have an idea right now of law schools that you want to get into? It is not a problem. One of the things that I also want to continue to do is to expose you to all of the different law schools in our region, and also to the law schools nationwide. I'm going to say this, though. I don't think it's wrong to dream big. Just be ready, as reality comes in, to scale back a little bit. We typically have two different kinds of groups of students at UTD. And it's one of the first questions I ask everybody. Do you want to stay in Texas, or do you want to get the hell out? And so for students who want to stay in Texas, who have strong connections here, then we stay focused on developing relationships with the admissions people at the law schools in our area. We have a seminar next week that I emailed out about. It's the Southwest Association of Pre-Law Advisors, and it's a panel with admissions deans from the law schools in our area: SMU, A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, UNT Dallas. And so it's a great place to start, to listen to what the admissions people have to say from the law schools that are closest around us. And the great thing is that you'll have an opportunity for the next few years to come back and interact with those same law school deans, hopefully to go to their campus and have a tour. So it isn't too early to start kind of seeing what law schools are out there. Of course, everybody always talks about the top 14 schools, and that's aspirational, and it doesn't represent a large percentage, but I think it's important for everyone here to know that we have students, we have comments at Harvard and Yale, and the other top 14 schools. And so I think the thing right now is just start learning about the different law schools, so that by the time you're ready to think about applying, you'll have a list of the places that you think you'd like to go. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink of water. Ask Ashley to turn on to the next slide. I think that one of the things that you all can tell from this is I can talk about law school and law school admissions and the legal profession all day long. So we're going to scratch the surface here, but there's so much to know about this. And so the next thing is knowing that I am available to you throughout the application process. So let me give you kind of a basic overview right now of the law school application process. Everything that happens in law school applications happens through lsac.org, and I'm going to type that in the chat right now. That's the Law School Admissions Council. If you haven't gone in there and hacked on or around that a little bit, I highly recommend it. There's so much information there about everything. It is where you will sign up for the LSAT. It is where you will send your transcripts. It is where you will send emails to the people who are going to write you letters of recommendation. And then ultimately, with the pull down menu of each of the different law schools, it is where you're going to submit your applications. The other interesting thing that lsac.org has is they have an app there where you can put in a GPA and an LSAT score, and it will show you the schools where you are right at or above their particular numbers. And so it can help you get a familiarity with what numbers you're looking for particular schools. And so you can put in your GPA, so you've got a 3.5 and you've got a 162 on your LSAT. Then it will give you a range there. There are also, out there some different apps that will help you to find the right law school for you. You can focus on particular regions. You can focus on particular specializations. Let me say right now, specialization is not a big deal in law schools. Law schools, as I said before, all teach the same thing in your freshman and sophomore year. And so there are very few what I would call specializations where you want to go to a particular law school to get that type of expertise. There are some, for example, in areas like health law, environmental law, patent law, that once you get through for your first year and a half to 2 years, that you can start to do internships and take courses in those particular areas. You'll also find that there are law schools that are, though they're may not be specializations, that are strong in particular areas. For example, NYU is well known for their public interest work. And so one of the things that you'll be doing, through your first couple of years here, figuring out about what particular areas of law you might be interested in and determining whether or not there are particular law schools that are strong in that area. I'll tell you my personal experience is that I had no idea what kind of lawyer I wanted to be when I went into law school. And thankfully, I figured it out when I got there. I never would have thought that I was going to end up being a corporate attorney, but that's where I ended up. I was interested in litigation, and I ended up getting into business litigation, and from there, in-house. So it's important, I think, to stay open to all of the different areas of law. However, I don't think my way was the best way. I think it's better to know something about different areas of practice, so that at least when you go to law school, you'll know what it is you're open to. So when the application process begins, once you have your LSAT score, then the next thing is you will need to make yourself a spreadsheet of what schools you're going to apply to and get different information about them into your spreadsheet. How many letters of recommendation do they want? Do they have a prompt for their personal statement? How many pages or words can your personal statement be? What is their application deadline? What's their median LSAT score? What is their median GPA? And so as you get that together about what schools you want to apply to, then I'll be assisting you with figuring out who to ask for letters of recommendation. I'll have personal statement workshops. Then we can have one-on-one meetings about any addenda that you want to write to your application. A lot of schools have a statement besides your personal statement that is why this particular school, like I know SMU has a why SMU. And they're not looking for anything fancy. What the dean has said to me is it can be, I like the location, I like the city. It can be something specific about the clinics or professors. But she says mainly what she's trying to do is separate out people who really want to go to SMU from people who are just applying everywhere. And so that's why some schools will make you answer something more thoughtfully about why you want to go to that particular school. Okay, Miss Ashley, next slide. So there is a period of time that happens for all of you after you put in your applications, and it's the most fun part. It's when all of the different acceptances start coming in. And so it's an area that we help you with as well, to evaluate the offers you've gotten and decide where it is you want to go to law school. Law school scholarship, financial assistance is all merit-based. Law schools assume at the point that you've graduated from college that you're independent financially from your parents, whether you actually are or not. And so the good news for you is you're not going to be evaluated based on your parents' income anymore. They're just going to look at you like you just graduated, and so you're poor, and you have debt probably. So it's another reason why it's so important to keep that GPA as good as you can, because it's money. And so you'll get the letter that says, congratulations, you've been admitted to our law school, and here's how much money we're giving you. And so we can look at all of the places that you've been admitted. Each of the law schools is required to give a statement that you can find on any law school's page. It's called the ABA 509 report. And so, say for example, you can go to my alma mater, SMU, and you can search ABA 509 report, and it will show you this report that's in the same format for every law school. And it tells you all of the statistical data about LSAT scores, GPAs, racial and ethnic breakdown of the class, size of the class, cost of attendance, and they are also required to list on there what they estimate their cost of attendance at their law school to be. And it includes not just tuition, but cost of living in that particular area. So you can compare, so you can see, okay, this school is giving me X amount of money. This school is giving me less money, but their cost of living is less as well. And so I can help you make an evaluation about where to go. I can also help you figure out how much it's acceptable to borrow to go to law school. I mean, generally, everybody borrows money to go to law school because you can't work, especially during your first year. You're basically in a position where hopefully you're going to be getting a paid internship during the summer so you can make money and, be able to, save some, but ultimately, in order to have the time free to learn what you need to learn, you're probably going to have to borrow some money. So I want to help you make sure what school you're going to, how much you have to borrow, and what kind of job are you going to get on the other side. So we'll know whether you'll be able to service the debt that you're going to engage. Question here, do the big schools like Yale, Columbia, and Harvard offer merit-based scholarships? The answer is yes, they do, but they're kind of stingy with them. We have had students get money from Yale and Harvard. I haven't had a student yet get money from Columbia. But, if you've got the top numbers, they will make you some kind of offer. The other thing that happens with the big schools is that once you're admitted, they have additional scholarships that you can apply for. And it's true of all law schools that especially they have some diversity scholarships that are available after you've been admitted that you can apply for, different named scholarships. And so you do have the opportunity, you know, to try to get more than what is initially offered to you. Another thing about, you know, applying to several places is it's not unusual for me to help you to negotiate as well, so that you can say to a law school, you know, I am really interested in coming to your school. You're still my first choice. But X school offered me this amount of money, and you only offered me this amount. So if you could just kick in a little more, then I would come to your law school. So, you know, I can help you kind of plot out negotiations like that. Often, law schools will also, they might not admit you, but they'll put you on a wait list. And so I can help you when that time comes to navigate through what it means to be on the wait list and how to communicate with the law schools about it and evaluate whether or not you have a chance. After you've been admitted to a number of law schools, you're going to receive that. They're going to give you a deadline to make a deposit. And it's typically about April 1st, April 15th, May 1st at that particular point in time. So you've got that part of the spring to communicate with the different law schools, hopefully to visit them and not virtually, and decide where it is you want to go. It's not uncommon for students to pay a deposit to go to one place when they're waitlisted somewhere else, and then ultimately get in off the wait list at the other place and lose their deposit at the first place. Typically where that happens in our realm is we have a, you know, of course, UT, top law school in Texas, fantastic law school. And we have a lot of comments who go there, but we have a lot of comments who get in off the wait list. And sometimes it's pretty late when it happens. We had like 4 people get in June of this year. And so they had all already made plans to go somewhere else and then got the word from UT. And I, you know, who can blame them? Okay. Next slide. Is this the last one? No, there's one more. Okay, so here are some of the things that I've talked about already that that you will see that we operate our programs and workshops through the Pre-Law Advising Center. Personal statement workshop, resume workshops, everything about the admissions process. Our campus visits that we have this year virtually from law school admissions representatives. Visiting law school forums this year, of course, that's all virtual, and we've already had one session, which I believe we recorded, about going to the virtual law school forums and the kinds of questions to ask. When we get back to whatever the new normal is, we will get back to arranging visits at law schools and welcoming law school admissions people onto our campus. We've always, in the past, at least always had SMU, UT, Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma, visits from all of those different law school deans recruiting our students. Okay, slide number 7, I think, is the one that talks about our different activities. And this is especially important for you all freshmen and sophomores to be thinking about how you want to get involved in different activities. John Marshall Pre-Law Society is just, the thing about JMPLS is, you know, there's a lot of information that you get from me, but there is just a great benefit to having a cohort, a group of like-minded students who are all trying to get to the same place. And so there's so much sharing of information, and I've just found it to be very beneficial. One of the great things is that we have, people who are in the application process now who can talk to you all about where they were as freshmen and sophomores, what they did to, get those internships or activities that help them enhance their resumes. And they can also tell you mistakes that they made that they, would like to tell you, don't do like I did. And so I think it's really important to have, a group of like-minded people. The other thing I think in JMPLS is that we have a number of students, especially on our board, who participated in the Bill Archer program and spent a semester in DC, which is a fantastic, not just a great resume item, but a fantastic opportunity. We've had students work in the curator's office at the Supreme Court. We have students work at the White House. We've had students work with various people in Congress, work at the SEC, work in the Justice Department and Human Rights Division. So it's a really great chance to get in there and work with lawyers and in policy. So our Archer folks who have done that already are ambassadors, and they will, through JMPLS, we will set up a meeting for everybody who's interested in Archer, and it'll be a kind of insider thing. Here's what your application should look like. Here's how to write your policy paper. Here is, what the interview is like. So for any of you who are interested in applying for Archer at some point in time, JMPLS is a great thing to do. Now, I'm not the most well-versed on the Archer time frame, but I'm going to answer Samantha's question as best I can. You can apply for Archer. I believe the applications will go in at the beginning part of the spring semester. So I think it comes up really quickly at some time in February. And so you can apply. I think the optimum time is to apply in your sophomore year to go as a junior. You can apply as a freshman to try to get in as a sophomore, but it's kind of a long shot. For my students who have done that before, they tell me that they learned a lot about the application process by getting rejected the first time. I don't know if that's everybody's cup of tea, but most of my students, it seems like they either do it at some point in their junior year or in the fall semester of their senior year. I would go on to, I think it's the Honors College website that has the information about Archer. Ashley's typing, so maybe she has found it. Yes. Oh, wait, that's the JMPLS contact. Ashley, would you go to the Honors College page and see if there's a link there to the Archer program? I think there is. Okay, we will come back to that. Because I want to talk about what we would call our advocacy programs. That's moot court, mock trial, and mediation. So very unique for UTD that we have all three of these advocacy teams. A lot of schools have one or the other, or they don't have mediation, but we have all three. Mock trial is coached by Tony Seagroves, and he allows students to get involved with it at any point in time. And so it's, if you are interested in getting involved in mock trial in the fall, then in the spring, you should reach out to Coach Seagroves and tell him that you're interested in being on the team, and he will set you up for an interview for that. There are no prerequisites for mock trial. Just the willingness to jump in and learn and work with a team. Mock trial is more the litigation oriented. So it's opening statements, closing statements, direct and cross-examination of witnesses. So you're on, he typically has 3 teams. You're on a team of 6 people, and everyone is an attorney sometimes and a witness sometimes. And so you're, it's a lot of courtroom drama. And I think we have a lot of folks who come in who were on a high school mock trial team, and that is an excellent experience to apply doing mock trial at the university level as well. Moot court is appellate advocacy, and so it is arguing as if you were arguing before the Supreme Court. Our rounds are much shorter. It's teams of 2 people arguing 2 different constitutional law issues related to our topic for the year. Because of that it involves reading and briefing cases and developing an argument about those cases, we do have the prerequisite that you have to have taken either constitutional law or civil liberties, one or the other, before you can audition for the moot court team. And once again, you would reach out to me in the spring, and I will set you up for an interview for the moot court team. Can you participate in multiple advocacy groups at the time? You can't do moot court and mock trial at the same time, because all of the tournaments conflict with each other too much. However, and that's a great segue for me to talk about mediation, you can do mediation in conjunction with the other 2, as long as you can make the scheduling of it work. I know it's strange to think that we have competitive peacemaking, but we do. Mediation tournaments are, an advocate, a client, and a mediator. And the goal in each round is to come to a negotiated agreement regarding these particular issues. We have family law issues, we have personal injury issues, we have community issues. So all of these hypothetical cases, and you're taking turns being the advocate, the client, and the mediator, and coming to some kind of negotiated resolution. There's not a class related to it. We have a class in both moot court and mock trial, where you get 2 hours in the fall, 1 hour in the spring. Mediation, there is a day-long training session that Coach Seagroves holds, which has already happened. Then go to a couple of tournaments, and from that he selects the team to go to the national tournament. It all happens in the fall. And so if it's something that you're interested in doing, make sure when the fall semester starts next September that you contact me or contact Coach Seagroves and tell him that you're interested in being on the mediation team. The great thing about mediation is that it doesn't require a whole lot of outside the classroom practice or research like moot court and mock trial do. You basically just are improvising the whole thing. You have to learn how to do a mediator's opening statement, and the rest is just very improvisational. But you learn, fantastic negotiating skills. I did a lot of mediation as a corporate attorney, and it's a wonderful skill to have. It doesn't just apply in the law, it applies with your roommates and your family, learning how to be a good mediator. Finally, the Innocence Project seminar is held every semester for credit Thursday night, 7 o'clock. And Natalie Retzel is an attorney with the Innocence Project of Texas. She brings in actual files of people who have asked for the assistance of the Innocence Project because they believe they were wrongfully convicted. And so students are able to learn how to investigate the files, to read the police records, and to help write a memorandum to decide whether or not the Innocence Project will take particular cases. And during the course of it, you get to meet some of her former clients who were wrongfully convicted. It's just a great opportunity if you're interested in seeing exactly how broken our criminal justice system is and be involved with people who are trying to fix it. The Innocence Project seminar is an honors course. And so the C5 students get first preference in registration. However, because it's offered every semester, there are always spaces available. And so it's important, if this is something you want to do when registration time comes, to email me, email Natalie Retzel, so that you can get on her wait list to get in the class. What year do I recommend doing the Innocence Project seminar? It depends. It depends on what your major is and how many required classes you're trying to do at a particular time. If you've got the space in your schedule with your major, then I think it's fine to do it perhaps in the spring of your sophomore year or any time after that in your junior, senior year. I think it's good to try to get in. So because it is a class that fills up, you might be on the list in one semester and not get in. And so you want to get on the list for the next semester. It also does not have prerequisites. And so it is something, but my experience with it has been that you're looking at how many required courses you have to have and what they're offering in your major in particular semesters, and seeing where it is personally for you that you can fit it in. And finally, I would tell you all that I'm available at the point in time that you're registering for classes. As I said before, I'm not your academic advisor, but I can help you plot the schedule for when it's best to try to, take particular courses, to get the electives in, to see what you're going to be involved in particular semesters. Okay, I think Ashley can put up the final slide that says thank you. I am ready to take any questions about anything pre-law that anyone may have. And you can raise your hand if you want to speak instead of type. Okay, I see typing happening. While the questions are coming in, I want to say something about getting an appointment with me. I am very, very happy at some point in time with everybody pre-law. I'm going to be talking to everybody one-on-one, and I'm going to get to know you from that perspective. Right now, if you want an appointment with me to talk about general pre-law, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks away, because my schedule right now is full of people who are applying in this cycle. And that's a phrase you're going to hear a lot about, the admissions cycle. So basically, for people who are going to start law school in 2021, the cycle is happening right now. They're getting together everything about their application to try to get it in before the end of this year. The actual hard deadlines are more like March 1st, March 15th, but I think it's best to you don't want to get your application in at the last minute. You really want to get it in earlier so that it is being reviewed along with fewer people. And it also is a positive regarding getting financial assistance to get your application in earlier rather than later. So, so that's why my appointments right now are kind of a couple of weeks out. is because I'm working with people who are in the admission cycle. And one day that's going to be all of you, right? So you will want me to, be giving my attention to you first.
Yes. While we're waiting on some questions, just to remind everybody, everything is on our website. So you just go to the UT Dallas webpage, type in pre-law, where that first section that comes up. All of our events are listed. Make sure that you sign up for our email list. It's one of the green buttons. You will get emails about all of the events that we have going on and coming up in October. This kind of goes back to somebody's question about, if we don't know what law school that you're interested in. SWAPLA, the Southwest Association of Pre-Law Advisors, is hosting a series of regional law school panels. There's 4 with different areas of Texas, and then also Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And there will be different admissions personnel from different schools in those areas. So that's something to look at if you're wanting to get more information about the schools and things like that.
Thank you, Ashley. And very good. If you miss any of our seminars, we're in the process of figuring out how to get the YouTube of the things that we've recorded. And so as time goes on, there's going to be even more stuff. We have a question. Is it better to remain in state for law school or go to another law school in another state? So one of the interesting things about in-state versus out-of-state is the question of where it is you want to end up. Where do you want to practice law when you graduate from law school? So if you go to one of the top 14 law schools, then generally you're probably going to be able to find a job in, like if you wanted to go to Georgetown, but ultimately you wanted to come back to Texas, then you probably would have because of where you went to law school, you'd be able to find a job here. If you are planning to stay in Texas and practice law in Texas, the benefit that you get is that so much about law school now is the connections that you make, because it's what's called an OCI, an on-campus interview. So the law firms, the corporations, the government agencies are coming onto the law school campuses and interviewing students for summer internships. And what you hope is that summer internship is ultimately going to turn into a job. So from a regional perspective, for example, if you're, like me, I didn't want to leave Dallas. I wanted to be here. So when I went to SMU, it has always been easy for me to find a job, because in this region, SMU is prime law school. I think one of the questions becomes, what if I go to someplace to go to law school, Vanderbilt or Duke or Notre Dame, and ultimately what I want to do is practice law in Texas and take the bar in Texas, then you're going to have to make sure that you take a bar review course so that you're well versed in the laws of the state where you're going to take the bar. So I think part of answering the question about do I go out of state or do I stay here is thinking about, do I have strong feelings about where it is I want to be after I graduate? I've seen a lot of people who would, go away to somewhere to go to law school with the intent of coming back to Texas and then ending up staying there because they had great opportunities closer to where they went to law school. I will tell you, the sad reality, though, I have had students go to law school out of state, come back here to take the Texas bar, and then not pass it the first time because they didn't get any kind of emphasis in law school on the laws of that particular state. So that sounded very much like my "it depends" answer again, didn't it? But I think that it's kind of a consideration of where do I want to be when I graduate? What opportunities for jobs are there going to be that I'm going to encounter when I'm in law school? And are those going to be more regional things or national things? That was very helpful. Thank you. You're welcome. I always like to hear that I've answered a question. Okay. So anybody else? I know we've gotten to 4 o'clock, but and I know I gave you all a lot of information today. So be sure, now you've had the overview and I've seen your name on the list. So when I get an email from you that says, you know, hey, I went to the seminar and I'd like to have a one-on-one appointment for you now, then Ashley will be happy to find a place for you in my calendar for us to meet in a couple of weeks. Okay, if there isn't anything else, then I think we'll cut off the recorder, and I'll congratulate everyone for making it through Wednesday. And